All right. Welcome to Health a Second Opinion. Dr. Chad here with you again this week, hoping to stir you up into the beautiful thing that we call health and life here, and just welcoming you back to the show for another great week. Hope you've experienced another great week. And we're going to be talking about reflection and really, many different aspects of it. I've been again, always starting off my days on Tuesdays and Thursdays with some inspirational calls and some readings. And of course, that always makes things a little different with what I've been studying to try to talk about during the show. But one of the things that's been amazing to me lately is trying to get back into this book. Some of you may be familiar with it, The Bigness of the Fellow Within by B.J. Palmer. I'm reading the Two Opposing Theories, which, wow, right now couldn't be any bigger. The Two Opposing Theories, and it's going on about, it's a great read. So again, Bigness of the Fellow Within, The Two Opposing Theories. Well, this is a little excerpt from that. And it says, man reflects the divine qualities as a mirror reflects the sunlight. But unlike the mirror, he grows in the image and likeness of the qualities he reflects. And so when we think about these things, it brings to mind the things that we're reflecting right now. And in paying attention to how our bodies are reflecting to us and how our belief structures are reflecting onto the choices that we make. And this goes way beyond our health and into our entire lives. And so one of the things that I think that many people are suffering from today is BBS, or bad belief systems. And so many people are stuck in the hopelessness and the lack of faith, and that their bodies are broken, and that they can't create health anymore, and that they're destined to this downward spiral of disease and dysfunction, such that they've begun to believe that lie, and that their health comes from outside of them instead of from inside of them through better function. And so I love that, in that this guy, B.J. Palmer, writing, saying that we become more like the things that we reflect. And so many of us throughout our lives have experienced that. I remember my mom always telling me, don't hang out with the wrong crowd because you become more like them, and so my grandmother had a different old saying too that went with that. And so it was always, we know that from a child, we're teaching our children that the more and more that they do these things, the more and more repeated their behaviors are, and the more it's supported by the crowd that they hang out with, the better or the worse things can get. And so if we're suffering from BBS or bad belief systems, then our choices and the things that we take in from an energetic standpoint, from the news media we choose to watch, or the things we choose to read, and the converse that reflects into the conversations that we have with our friends and family, and that then dominates the way we feel emotionally, and the amount of tension in our body, the amount of stress in our body. And it always comes back to, if you're wanting to produce health in the body, then what are you reflecting? What are you putting into your body that then is going to come out of your body? And earlier in the week, I had this little 3-minute thing and it's something you can check in with, and it's BEDS, or well, you can spin it any way you want, but it's breathing. And this is about checking in with what's your autonomic body, your subconscious body reflecting back to you, and ways that you can assess these things to just get a snapshot of exactly kind of how you're doing that day, that moment, that week, that month. And that is that you're breathing, how is it doing? Is it labored? Are you breathing shallow? Are you feeling that you're constricted and it's hard to get a good breath, and that you're yawning all the time? And this would reflect that your nerve system is not controlling your breathing properly. And so that's a big thing to check in with. And so If that could be a warning sign that something's off. And then how's your energetics? How is your energy doing throughout the day? Are you up and down? Is your energy good? Are you coming home with plenty of good energy to do the things you want to do? Do you feel like you're at the top of your game throughout the day and at work, or are you having the after lunch slump, and then you have to have a little more sugar and a little more caffeine and things like that to try to keep up? And then when you get home, and is there leftover energy to play with the kids and have good conversations with your spouse and tackle the things that need to be done to have a better, more productive day the next day? And so these are that's another energetics is another way that you can really look at how's your body, your autonomic body self-regulating. And then, how's your digestion going? That's D. If your digestion is off, a great, one factor of measuring it is to look at the other end of digestion and say, well, how are the bowel habits doing? And are you having enough bowel movements in a day? And are they consistent and predictable and things like this? And then on the upper end of digestion, are you experiencing things like acid reflux or Crohn's or other irritable bowel syndrome or alert allergies, common allergies to indigestion? These, again, say that, man, your subconscious body, your autonomic body, the non-conscious you and the decision-making parts of your day, although your decisions affect that subconscious body, that it's really, it's not functioning properly. And then you can look at S, or sleep. And so when we look at our sleep, again, these are how's that autonomic? When your body shuts down and your conscious mind is going to sleep, do you go to sleep really quickly and it feels good and you stay asleep? Or are you possibly falling asleep, but then you wake back up and you can't go back to sleep and you're experiencing things like this? Well, these are, again, these sleep patterns. Are you waking up feeling rested? Do you feel like you're ready to tackle the day, excited about the day, feel like you've got the energy you need? These are questions to be asked. So there's a Tired and Wired quiz at the office for those of you who maybe are having some sleep issues. And so you can take this little quiz and it'll tell us about how your adrenals are functioning, which is one of the things that can really be affected or one of the organs that can be really out of balance with the body and not coordinating well. That's just a simple assessment for those of you who are patients. But the biggest overall view, to step back and take this big, large view of how are all these functioning. These, if they're not functioning properly, then there's this day-to-day lifestyle questions that you can ask yourself that says, well, am I utilizing my exercise and my nutrition, my stress management, my mindset? Are you using your these things that you have at your disposal to have better sleep, energy, digestion, and to be able to function autonomically? And is your body expressing itself well? And if when you look at your lifestyle questions that are just obvious day-to-day choices that you can make to assess the breathing, the energy, the digestion, your sleep, if those aren't easy fixes, or maybe you are doing those things, that's even a bigger warning sign that your body's nervous system isn't controlling and coordinating your body. And I get asked all the time, hey, what's the number one thing that you can do to really try to keep your body functioning? It's always, for those of you who are patients, it's the home care. For those of you who are patients, and it's about, well, have you been checked lately? Have you been adjusted lately? Or for those of you who aren't, have you had a checkup on your spine and your nervous system to make sure that it's controlling and coordinating the functions of all of your body, such that the autonomic nerve system can control and coordinate these other health systems, so that your breathing, your energy, your digestion, and your sleep can reach optimal function. And so many people just need to have that checkup or update themselves, and looking at how's the body reflecting back to you your general health status? How is it when you assess that breathing, energy, digestion, and sleep? You know, if you're on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 was, oh man, I'm perfect. And then you have 0, which is none. And then you've got to take the other step, which is, well, how willing are you to make changes on a scale of 1 to 10 to reach those goals? Because understanding that there is a problem is the first step. Understanding that you can't fix the problem with the current level of thinking that created the problem is the second step. And then the third step is to take massive action. And if you're unwilling to take massive action, then you shouldn't expect things to change. I mean, I always laugh, you know, at so many people who and I've fallen into the trap myself in certain things where I do a lot of the same stuff, and I'll maybe even do more of it and expect to get different results. And I just, it's just amazing. One of the things that so many, thinking about what is the world reflecting back to us, pardon me. What is the world reflecting back to us, and what are our bodies reflecting? We've lost this, now in the time of COVID, or as my kids are the corona. They are there's another epidemic, and it's this actually from something I read from this is the Harvard Health blog, April 20th, 2020. Also from the NIDA, April 6, 2020, and pulled some stuff here from the CDC, Understanding Prevention. And this is a tale of the two epidemics when COVID-19 and opioid addiction collide. The Harvard Health blog is where this all started for me. And so, looking at this, wow. Right before all this stuff started, everybody was really understanding there was this huge national emergency with understanding that the opioid epidemic is just crushing our society, and that substance abuse in the form of pills is even worse than meth and some heroin and other these things that they're on the rise because people can't get the prescriptions as much as they had and had access to. And this is an AMA health brief that said that the social isolation that we're experiencing right now is a huge increased risk for addiction and use, especially in the illegally manufactured fentanyl and fentanyl analogs, and that 20 states have already reported increased mortality rates due to opioid addiction during this social isolation. And this people, it's like the unfortunate thing, God bless, Dr. Mark Supernaut and his cousin that passed away, Jen, that he was speaking of today, that literally this lady, top of her game, as dentist, her husband's a dentist, and they have beautiful kids, and all the wonderful things that people think that make life happy, that we know aren't what make life happy, but yet it would fill the bill. And that this lady, just during this crisis, started suffering from depression and went to the doctor, started a prescription, wasn't working, and recently she killed herself. And we're seeing so many people, the increased suicide rates, the increased opioid addiction rates skyrocketing. And so what is this reflecting to us? What is this saying about ourselves and our society? It says that if you're listening to this, or you watch this later, or that this is something that is to be shared, and that the love and the expression and the hope is something that people need to understand, that there's a different way of looking at things. Patients who saw a chiropractor for spinal pain had half the risk of filling an opioid prescription, and therefore had the decreased risk of becoming an addict to opioids. Among those who saw the chiropractor within the first 30 days, the reduction was even greater. So if somebody has a problem, they're suffering from some pain, and we know chiropractic is not just about pain. You know, I mean, if you're a patient in the office, you hopefully all definitely know that and are spreading that message that it's about our body's optimum function and well-being and our life expression literally being controlled by our nerve system. But hey, we work on the spine, and when we improve alignment, the body functions better. And so literally reducing the risk of opioid prescriptions by half. Come on, folks. I mean, there's another reason to greatly talk about chiropractic and spread the message of love and hope and restoration and regeneration, and that the body can heal itself, and that we were created in God's image, and that our bodies function, and that they're so ridiculous. You know, I talk in every doctor's report that I do out there with my patients. It's about the fact that you would not expect a scab to heal. If you cut your arm and you sit there every day and all you do is pick at it, all you do is just scratch, and you're always messing with it, well, you wouldn't expect it to heal, would you? In all reality, you'd probably expect it to get infected. You would expect it to get worse. You would expect to experience more problems from it. And so if the body is signaling spinal pain and dysfunction, then man, and you keep moving and you keep using it and you keep working and doing and being a human, you know, and literally just moving throughout your day, anything, then if your spine is reflecting pain back to you, then you should expect things to continue to get worse. And there is no chemical that removes the misalignment that causes the spinal segment to not function properly or causes the subluxation to go back into place. There is no vaccine that causes the spinal column to go back into place. There is no surgery that just puts the spinal column back in place and allows it to move. And so there's this thing that, I mean, there's enough right there. Reducing opioid prescriptions by half if people go to the chiropractor for their problems before they go to the MD. And then, wow, think about what we could do for society if we cut opioid addiction by 50% simply by dealing with the problem and fixing the cause of the problem instead of drugging the problem and masking it, and then seeing the cascade of homelessness and family dysfunction and the nasty things that this opioid prescription, the heroin addiction, the crystal meth, all these things that this is doing. This is the Harvard blog. You know, don't take my word for this stuff. Go to the Harvard Health blog, April 20th, and then the NIDA, April 6th. Potential implications for individuals and substance abuse, 2020. That's where that's coming from. And looking at what is this saying that we are reflecting as a society? It says that, you know, so many people are right now caught up in the lack of understanding of where health comes from, of where true function comes from, and where the body's health and healing comes from. And that if we don't deal with that is the ultimate problem, that there is no their hope, and they're lost, and they're just waiting for the next drug or the next vaccine, and not aware of the fact that our bodies heal themselves constantly. Our bodies are vibrating regeneration. Literally, everything decision that's going on in your body subconsciously is in the effort to regenerate itself more efficiently, to sustain life, to, you know, and we see this regenerative medicine coming on board nowadays, with the recognition that so many people are wanting to live better qualities of lives, and live longer, but yet no one's accepting the fact that health comes from within. Not no one, but the mass out there are not accepting that health comes from inside. And that it is not the broccoli that gives you health. It's what your body can absorb of that broccoli, and the utilization of sulforaphane and the different chemicals and the antioxidants from the broccoli that the body utilizes to halt oxidational stress on mitochondria, that then allow them to efficiently work better, produce more ATP, produce more energy, lengthen telomeres, and all of these things that we see. me, and what we are talking about is regenerative medicine. And so what we want to be doing is looking at, the utilization of the 5 essentials. So many people in trying to create this mass epidemic of people wanting to be healthier and happier and more whole. And so if we're going to do that, we've got to share that. We've got to focus on that. And that's one of the biggest things that we want. That's why we're so wanting to invite people to always be a patient in the office. It's not that, we need, some of you realize that there are very big times where it's very busy in the office, and that you might have to wait. And it's not that we want to have longer wait times. It's that we want more people experiencing the health in the fellowship of people that are focused in understanding that the better that our bodies function on the inside, the better that we express health in life and experience health in life on the outside. And therefore, the number one thing to always have checked and have functioning properly is a pump for up there. How about that? Maybe I need to drink water. Is to have a properly functioning spinal column and nerve system. One of the things that, as I'm thinking about what's going on and what's going on in society right now, I'm thinking, thank God, yes, we're going back to school, where the children are going to go back. And so, and I don't know about you, but finishing half the school system and then leading into summer, woo, man, it's a lot of work. And so that's why part of the office schedule's changed. We're now Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because the fact is that I'm home on Tuesdays and Thursdays helping my wife with 4 kids, because it's finally reached that level, if you know what I mean, where we're kind of a lot going on. But as we gear up to go back, hey man, July 17th is going to be Tennessee's tax-free weekend. And I think it's July 30th is Alabama's. And so what are we going to be getting into? We're going to be getting into backpack safety soon. I'm going to be holding some different things at the office, and I'll put this out in the paper and things. But literally, as we start to shop and we start to get very happy and rejoicing as parents, that the children are going to go back to school soon. And we need to be thinking about backpack safety and sending to our kids. It's not just about how mask safety and COVID safety, all these things. We need to be understanding the long-term effect of this. And speaking of, I want, before we go into backpack safety, the COVID safety, I want people to go to COVID-19 Lessons Learned from Past Pandemics. It's part 1. And let me show this to you. This is where you can, let's see it right there. It's in Dynamic Chiropractic, and there it is. COVID-19 Lessons Learned from Past Pandemics. You can go there and read that. It's a great history of the 1918, the 1960s, the 2009, the different, and the numbers and the different reasons why the numbers were different, and in the reactions of society and how things fared. And so I just thought it was a really good historical review. And so, but as we look at, preparing to go back to school, backpacks are a big deal. We understand that whether, this is actually effects of backpacks in students, the Journal of Physiotherapeutics, the Journal of Pediatrics, the gait and posture analysis from the Journal of Pediatrics, and Journal of Pediatric Orthopedics. They're all stating that, man, misused backpacks are horrible for children. They shouldn't be longer than 75% of the length of the back of a child, and a child shouldn't carry more than 10% of the body weight in it. And so that means if your child weighs 75 pounds, that they shouldn't carry more than 7.5 pounds in the book bag, and that it needs to be properly sized for them to even be able to carry that much. I'm hoping to get in touch with Sandra Reeves and the pastor at the Rising Fawn Church of God, and the different people who hand out backpacks, and see if we're going to be able to do that this year during our current guidelines, CDC pandemic stuff. Hoping that charity is and good tidings, good giving is still going to be possible here during this time. But again, back to so those are the the things that are coming up that I want us to be are thinking about. What are we reflecting? What are we literally taking in and then giving back to the world? Because, you know, we are these beings who become more and more like what we experience, and the things that we take in. And so I really want to focus on making sure that you understand that the time that you can fellowship at church is such a very important thing. That the time that you can fellowship with people in the office is a very important thing, because it's what your conversations are, the things that when you get home, or the things you read on your lunch break, the things that you focus on Facebook, the things that you focus on the media and watching TV and these different things. These are the things that are pouring into you, that your body will then emotionally process, and it will either cause subluxations, misalignments, disconnection in your body neurologically from stress, or it will build hope and love and faith and build you up, which will then drive your body down a different chemical cascade that will cause your body to respond differently. And then you will reflect different things back out to the world. And right now we know that the world needs more love, and, you know, or as my wife's sign used to say at our desk, more love, less paperwork. We need more love and less stress. We need more hugs, and if you want to do it with a mask on, great, you know, but still a hug. We need more conversations and different ways that we can interact and show that we are concerned for one another. And one of the biggest things that you can do is to reach out to those people in your life that you know have not had a checkup of their nerve system and haven't been into a Max Living office. Whether if you're outside the tri-state area and you're catching this, it's not about my office. It's about your life. It's about your body heals from the inside out. And just like I mentioned earlier, you wouldn't expect a cut to heal if you kept picking at it. Therefore, you shouldn't expect your body to function if it is not allowed to be controlled properly, and then you keep having the same bad habits. If you eat processed food and packaged food and all these things that they're contemplating serving our children at school, thank God mine will be taking their lunches, that then they're going to be just having more chemicals come into their body that will become a chemical stress, that their body will have to control and coordinate that and detox that so that they can absorb nutrients. They have to get rid of the bad to try to get the good and to utilize that to regenerate their bodies. And so that can become a stress, or it is a stress. It will be. If you shouldn't expect health if you're not eating, you know, healthy food. If your mental thoughts are poisonous, then you shouldn't expect to have mental clarity. And if you're constantly focused on the negative, you shouldn't expect to be positive. And you wouldn't, you know, drink poison on a regular basis and expect to stay alive. But yet emotionally and physically and all this stuff, and we call it news and we call it being up to date and we call it all these other things. In all reality, it's emotional poison. And what we need to do is use our common sense, focus on what we can control, reducing our comorbidities, looking at the fact that we now know that if your C-reactive protein levels are really high, that's a huge indicator that you're going to have a worse cytokine storm in the epithelium of your lungs. And therefore, you know, what improves that, what reduces C-reactive protein levels in your body? It's improved exercise, it's improved nutrition, it's improved nervous system, it's improved stress levels, and it's improved detoxification. And what's that called, folks? That's called the 5 essentials. That's called max living. And if you want a max life, you'd have to have some max living. And so for those of you who aren't a patient in the office, well, you should be, or you should be a patient in somebody else's office. So I hope that this has helped you learn something that, you know, remember, check in with yourself. Hey, how's the breathing, the energy, the digestion, the sleep? These are that autonomic nerve system control. How are those things functioning for you, folks? stay focused on what you can control, stay focused on something positive, and love, respect, and hope. And I hope to see you soon at the office or back here, right here on Health a Second Opinion. See you.